Mrs. Lawton. Number 10.
Number 10. Cheers. Number 10.
Cheers.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm.
Tastes like future sponsorship.
Here we go again. We are not starting this again. We're not going down that road.
Okay.
All right, guys. We're on... the last we did was Terceira.
And now Sao Jorge.
Now we're in Sao Jorge. And I have to tell you, it is an amazing, breathtaking island. I think, again, all 9 islands in the middle of the Atlantic are archipelago. All islands are different.
Completely different. We've been going to San Miguel for about 20 years.
At least.
And we've seen it, I hate to say modernized, because it sounds...
Well, but it has.
So, we saw them build and complete the highway.
Yeah.
We started going just about the time they opened
the
Park
mall.
Atlantique, the mall.
Yeah, the mall. They have a mall.
And we saw the change from going, the long way through before the highway, when you had to go through each of the smaller villages, and it took forever to get anywhere. Now you can get around the island fairly quickly.
Yeah, you can get to the one side of the island in an hour.
And then we went to Terceira before we went to Sao Jorge, and that was like a smaller version of
San Miguel.
Oh, very
definitely.
easy to get around. It seemed...
Americanized, very Americanized.
Well, I was going with a great destination for tourists.
Oh, definitely.
If you want to see...
Definitely.
Whatever would come for...
Right.
There was plenty to visit and see.
Right, in a smaller version.
In a smaller version.
Yeah.
Sao Jorge was funny because we flew first thing in the morning from Terceira to Sao Jorge.
Yeah.
And you land, and the first thing you notice when you step onto the tarmac is the island of Pico across the water from you, looming over you.
It's like, oh my God, Pico is like, it's there. You cannot look away from it. You're there in Sao Jorge, but you see Pico. It's like, just like, it overtakes the whole...
Yeah. It's kind of like the Will Smith movie, Independence Day. And the spaceships come in, and they're hovering over the city.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you not look up and stare at that spaceship all the time?
Yeah.
But instead, it's the mountain.
It's the mountain of Pico. It is like...
amazing.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Just beautiful.
It's funny. So we land in Sao Jorge, and by the time the crew and us picked up all 22 or 24 of our suitcases and equipment cases
Cargo,
and all of that.
And
get the keys for our rental van, like, everybody at the airport had left because there was no other flight for like 6 hours.
Including the workers.
So we were the last ones to leave by the time we get the van loaded. And this is like one of the few airports I've ever left where you don't pull into like a busier road.
No.
You pull into a
regular
2-lane road.
2-lane road.
One in each direction.
Yeah.
And within 50 feet, you completely forget that there was an airport right behind you.
Because this is a small airport.
Because it's very small.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole thing is the thing about Sao Jorge, and, we had heard many things about the island of Sao Jorge before we got there. So we had this thought in what it was going to be. Plus, our producer, director, Dean, had been there the previous summer, filming some other stuff. And so he had told us, he's like, I don't feel comfortable driving. There are a lot of very steep roads, and, I would recommend getting a driver.
Yeah, he started beating that drum
months
before we got to Sao Jorge, just to try to scare me as much as he could.
I think he did. So when he was doing that, Bob's like, oh, I can drive. I drive manual. I've driven, many places. I've done steep hills and stuff. I'm fine with it. I'm okay driving manual. But we had not a car. We had a 9-passenger van.
Standard transmission.
And so the thing is when we got there, again, the first day, it's like, okay, as we flew in, you could see that the shape of the island is much different than any of the islands we've been on. It's long. It's
shaped like a green bean.
It is shaped like a green bean. No wonder I loved it so much. It's shaped like a green bean. So it is longer than it is wider. And you have to either side of all the sides of the island are these steep cliffs.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, it's called feijoas, and there are over 100 of them throughout the bottom of the island that is the lowest near the ocean.
So the feijoa is a tiny village that's at sea level. It's
Yes.
on like what was once probably a lava overspill, or
Correct.
just some soil has built up.
Right. And most of them don't even have, until recently, some of them still don't have electricity or running water. And a lot of these feijoas were used as a getaway. So a lot of the people that would live up on top in the summertime, they would have a house in one of the feijoas that they would go to, or they would go there for fishing or for catching lapage, as well as the certain clams that they have there, their specialty there. So there was a lot of stuff going on there. This is in the olden days. Now there are people, now they have, some of them, the majority of them have electricity, have running water, have plumbing, have all of that stuff. So that there are people who live year round in some of these feijoas. And then year round, like one of the feijoas, only like 10 families live in one of them. Whereas in the summertime, people come from the United States or they come from other places and their family still owns one of those houses, and that's when it fills up with more people. But it is very unique, very unique. And I did not know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect.
No, me neither. I just thought it was going to be an even smaller version of what we had already seen. And like my smartwatch was telling me at the top of some of the cliffs that we were like 1,300 feet above sea level, and the feijoa was that far below us because they're at sea level.
Right.
And it was funny because Dean, our producer extraordinaire, was flying his drone below himself, right? Not high up. We were spotting him because the drone was 800 feet underneath him, which was a unique experience.
It's a breath. I can't say this enough. It was breathtaking. It was breathtakingly beautiful.
Yeah, and lush, very lush.
Oh my God!
So one of the days we were there, we woke up to heavy rain.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were driving to, I'm terrible with names.
Topo. Wasn't it?
We were coming back from Topo. We were going to the feijoa where we made soup.
Oh, Vimas. Yep.
And as we were descending the scary cut-back road,
steep road,
we could see waterfalls from
everywhere
that were amped up because there was so much rainwater pouring through the trees. It was just
gorgeous,
just stunning.
Yeah, it was just gorgeous,
just stunning. But the thing I would tell you about Sao Jorge is it's not your typical touristy place like São Miguel. There's plenty of places to go off to and do that are touristy. Sao Jorge would be described as off the beaten path.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a place where Azorean citizens live and work, and you are welcome to go visit them.
Yes.
They are wonderful, open-hearted people. We loved the restaurants we went to and everybody that we met.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get the typical tourist experience of an all-inclusive hotel or tourist traps.
No.
That is not
No,
there.
there is no tourist trap there. And what I loved about it was, after the first day of Bob driving on the island, and he said, you know what, these are a little bit steeper roads than I'm used to, and they were. And I think if we had a car, if we had been there, because by the end of the week we were like, oh, this is good, we got it, or at the end of our stay there. But in the very beginning, it was a little overwhelming because we had never been there, and we weren't. We were never there before. We didn't know our way around. And so on our second and third and fourth day, we had a driver. We actually had a driver.
Well, we did. And the filming days were long.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be driving those roads tired.
At night.
And in the dark.
Yeah. That's true.
That would have been
That's
bad
true.
news. And I wanted to be able to celebrate the islands, if you know what I mean.
So, yes.
Without worrying.
Right. So the thing is one of the first days we were there, we saw, of course, it's Sao Jorge. We've got Sao Jorge cheese. I mean, that is where the most famous Azorean cheeses are made, is there in Sao Jorge. So, of course, we had to do a tour of the place where the best cheese is produced. We were able to do that, and that was incredible. And then our second day, where we had a driver, we had Paulo. His name was Paulo, and his wife Paula, and highly recommend them. They were awesome people, and they were just the sweetest people. Like, I would tell Paulo, oh, I was thinking of on the island, I really need, and whatever it was, it'd be whatever I would say to him. All of a sudden, like, either later that day or the next day, we were able to either find it or meet someone who knew or who did whatever I was looking for. So it was like everybody that we met there was beyond.
The population is what, like 14,000 on the island? I think Fayal and Sao Jorge are about the same size population.
About the same, if not a little less. Yeah.
Paulo knew everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. He did.
Which helped.
Yes, he did. He was just amazing. So on our second day, we went to, like you were saying, the Feijão de Vimas, because we wanted to see the coffee plantation.
Coffee plantation at Cafe Nunes.
Yeah. And so we were meeting with Dina, the daughter. So, and then we found out that Sao Jorge is the hiking island. So,
well, sure, it's people who didn't want to drive. It's the hiking island by default.
Well, no, they love hiking. They love hiking.
Abandoned cars everywhere.
No, they're not. He's lying. He's fibbing. It was like a lot of hiking. I mean, everybody is into nature. If you're into nature and hiking, that is the island to be. That is. Or if you want to go and like get away from it all, and be away from everybody and all of that stuff, that is a definite island to go to.
To be fair, these roads that I'm whimpering about, they take full-size tourist buses down to the bottom of them.
Yes, they do.
Driven by better men than me.
Well, they're used to it. That's the whole thing. Because everyone who we would talk to that were locals, we'd say, oh, the roads, and they'd go, no. Being here, what, you'd be fine. And I think we would be. We would be fine. It was just that it was the first time experience of it. I think when we go back, and like I said before, we will go back. It will be okay.
And get a smaller vehicle.
Yeah. But I cannot recommend it enough to go into that island.
Yeah. By the way, I asked somebody, hey, so why do you all live down here at the Feijão? Why aren't you living at the top of the island? Which is still hilly. But they had two reasons. First of all, the top of the island, where it's a little bit flatter, is reserved for the cows to make the cheese, right? And that's where the weather changes most often. So if you're going to get severe weather, it's going to hit the top of the island first.
Right.
So very windy, first and foremost. Every change comes with wind. So that's why they don't want to live up there. They want to live down at sea level where it's
right,
a little safer.
Right. And then, of course, we're not going to tell you too much of what we did on the island, but we did go to a special feijão that we had to take ATVs on. You could either walk it or take four-wheelers down. And it was like an hour walk on this trail going down a very steep road.
At least an hour, yeah.
At least an hour. Because we did see people walking up and back and forth on this trail.
They'd abandoned their cars.
They did abandon their cars up on top, but they went down to the Feijão. And there was a special area to leave your cars, to park your cars. They're not abandoning the cars. Silly.
Tomato.
Tomato, exactly. And but we took the ATV.
Yes. And thanks to our friend Nelson.
Thank you, Nelson.
Nelson.
Thank you.
You're the best.
What a great host. He was such a great host. And we got to experience something I have never experienced in my life. And it is something I will never forget. And
you'll have to watch season 2.
You'll have to watch season 2 because it is so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. I can't. So I cannot wait to get back there. I really can't. It's a beautiful island. The people are beautiful. The people that we met, like Leslie, Dina, Paulo, Maria, who taught me how to make espécies, and it's just beautiful. Welcoming, the Azorean hospitality in the umpteenth degree that's how we were shown around the island. It was just beautiful. And we stood there, and there were a few times that I kept saying to Bob, this doesn't look real. And I've said this sometimes when we were in San Miguel, other times when we were in Tercera, like there's certain little things, but it was the whole island. It was the whole island. I felt that way. And there was a little part of it that I even thought, oh my God, I feel like I'm in Jurassic Park. I did feel like that. It was unworldly. It was beyond. It was beyond. So, to Sao Jorge.
Sao Jorge.
We want to say, cheers, Sao Jorge.
Cheers, Sao Jorge.
We can't wait to see you again, and I can't say it enough for everyone who is from Sao Jorge. Wow, incredible.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, on to the next island.
Next island.
Okay.
Pico.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wine. We're going to wine. How appropriate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So good.
Your wine here.
You're going to have to stop that.